about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I don't want anybody to panic. We got your back. We got your back. But if you have not started to plan for Valentine's and you're in a relationship, you're in trouble. I a couple nights ago, tried to make dinner reservations for Valentine's, which falls on a Saturday night. Yeah, I was up for an hour. And it was interesting because there were a couple places where there were so many options in terms of times. I went on Open Table. And then I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, no other restaurant I could get a reservation, right, before 2:45 in the afternoon or after 2:45 in the afternoon. But this one restaurant, there's all these, I don't know. I was a little nervous about that. So I tell my husband, I go, and I keep reminding you guys to do this. I just forget to do it. I go, look, I know Valentine's is on Saturday night. Do we have to celebrate it on Valentine's? Why don't we do Valentine's the night before? He's like, fine by me, because we hate Valentine's. I mean, we love each other, but it's a holiday that used to have very, very serious sentiment. And then now it's so commercialized and it causes so much drama in relationships. So I ended up easily finding a restaurant for Friday night. So we'll celebrate Valentine's Friday night. By the way, these restaurants are expensive in that they have now a Valentine's menu. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, maybe I'll get a steak and maybe I'll get, an appetizer and a drink. And I'm looking at these menus. They're like $175 or $200 a person for Valentine's. I mean, come on. People are going to take advantage. So anyway, first comes first. If you don't want to, because I do not want you guys to screw up Valentine's. What really stinks about Valentine's is there is no other holiday that puts you in the hole or the doghouse easier than Valentine's. And it stinks because I don't think anybody really wants to celebrate it. I know maybe some people are like, well, I want to know if my boyfriend loves me or if my girlfriend loves me or whatever. There's other ways to do it, much easier and less risky ways. And one thing that really, really frustrates me is, let's say you have somebody at work or you're dating somebody at work and you send them a bouquet, and these bouquets are hundreds of dollars. Well, they put their bouquet on their desk, they're all happy, and then their coworkers have bigger bouquets or bigger things. And now theirs pale in comparison. You're like, man, I'm out $200 plus shipping. Really? And you're not happy? So you got to be careful because the stupidest question ever asked is, what are you getting for Valentine's? Well, then now you're stuck because whoever you're dating, I mean, usually it's not the guys asked to that, it's the girls asked that. Now there's all this pressure on you. So here comes a holiday now that could put you in the doghouse and you're like, well, what do I do? So first and foremost, don't panic, okay? What I would do, and hopefully you have a partner that is going to be very flexible. And I know everybody wants to go out Saturday night. They have to post their picture. So what I would do is if you can't get a reservation because you waited too long, get the reservation for Friday and say, look, I don't want to wait till Saturday to start celebrating. We're going to have a Valentine's weekend. Right? Oh, okay. All right, hold a second. Okay, you got me on Valentine's. All right, hold on a second. Well, what do you got planned? So, wipe the sweat off your brow. Take them out to dinner when you can, even if it's a late lunch or whatever. Okay? Because for most of us, we're only going to lunch on Friday because that's all we could get. And then on Saturday, I am going to do we're going to have a romantic evening. So we're going to go out, we're going to do our thing, but on Saturday we'll have a romantic evening. And that you could do pretty easily without going broke. And I'm going to give you guys ideas later on this week on how to save money. But you could do the bubble bath thing, you could do the candlelight dinner, you could cook the dinner, you can, because unfortunately what a lot of people now do is they rate how well you did based on their social media feedback. And so think about that. It stinks. For those of us who are Gen X baby boomers, we're like, you know what? That's fine. Right, dinner and sex were good. But with the younger generation, it's like, wait a second. What kind of pictures can I get? I need to post Valentine's Day. I need to capture all this. So if you keep some of that stuff in mind, then you can, you might even have to give them pictures. So like, let's say you get them a big teddy bear, but that big teddy bear costs $150 and it's not as big as somebody else's. Well, get some really good pictures of it. And then right before you give it to them, so that they have the pictures they could post, so they don't freak out that their teddy bear isn't as big. Listen, I'm not making this stuff up. I have a lot of contacts and friends and family members who are in this age group. And Valentine's Day, it's a blood sport. I got to tell you, don't screw up by when your loved one says, "Surprise me." So one big mistake couples do is they don't define what surprise me is. So I never tell my husband, "Surprise me." It's like my husband's like, "Well, what do you want?" Well, I don't want anything. And, so I don't want him to spend a lot of money. And I go, "Don't get me anything." He's like, no. I got to get you something. What do you want? And I'm thinking to myself, well, do I need new AirPods? Do I need new? And I'm like, well, I don't know what to say. So then I'll just say, "Surprise me." And then, he's like, "Oh, God." I got to surprise her. Okay, now just flip and tell me what you want. Now, I don't get mad. I don't care. Whatever. He doesn't have to get me anything. But the surprise me, now the onus is on you because, one, it's got to be a surprise. Two, what if they don't like it? So now you're like, stalking, everything about them and asking family members, what the hell do I get them? I don't know what my girlfriend wants, and it's stressful. So if they do come up with surprise me, I mean, maybe fireworks, sparklers. You're going to have to make it a surprise. I don't know. And, it stinks because everybody feels like they got to spend a lot of money. It's got to be jewelry. And for those of you dating somebody and they're like, put a ring on it, now there's a lot of pressure. Now, my very first Valentine's gift, I dated, but never was I dating during Valentine's Day. So my very first Valentine's, if I remember correctly, was basically my husband, who was my fiance at the time. So my very first Valentine's Day gift was an engagement ring. So it's hard for him to top that, which is another thing you don't want to screw up. You don't want a Valentine's Day gift, something so big, so that any other Valentine's Day gifts pale in comparison. The holiday sucks. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
We are back on the Dr. Dali Show, 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So this morning we heard that the FAA wanted to halt all flights at El Paso International Airport in southern Texas for 10 days. They were able to lift the order hours later, and the Defense Department said what had happened, is they had disabled Mexican cartel drones that breached U.S. airspace. According to CNBC, the FAA cited security reasons for the flight ban, and how did that happen? Whoa. Trump administration officials said the Department of Defense disabled Mexican cartel drones that had breached U.S. airspace and that there was no threat to commercial air travel. Currently, they say the temporary closure of airspace over El Paso has been lifted. No threat to commercial aviation. All flights will resume as normal. Now, the airport sits next to Biggs Army Airfield, which is near the Mexican border, about 12 miles from Juarez. And flights were initially halted until late February 20th, and the ban applied to a 10 nautical mile area around the airport. According to CNBC, the FAA hadn't immediately disclosed the security reasons for the temporary sudden halt and why it was set for so long. Yeah, that is interesting because I understand, if you think there's a breach of airspace and you need to protect, I understand closing an airport. The 10 days is an interesting number. Now, I'm no expert. Now, I'd love to get an expert to talk about this, but that is unique why they expected 10 days of protection. Luckily, they were able to reopen the airport, but this just reminds me how vulnerable we are. If we don't have a secure border and we're not watching what some of our enemies could be doing, and the cartels don't like us. Now, Democratic lawmakers are criticizing Trump, and as usual, they say, while we're not happy with the disruption, we commend, although one said we commend Representative Andre Carson of Indiana, we commend the FAA for taking swift action to protect travelers and ensure the safety of U.S. airspace. They say we look forward to pursuing a bipartisan solution that strengthens interagency coordination and ensures that the Department of Defense will not jeopardize safety and disrupt the freedom to travel. Okay, we are not disrupt. It's all about disrupting people's freedoms. Listen, if there is a danger, they got to do what they got to do. The 10 days is unique. That is interesting. I'm not. So hopefully we will get more information. Sean Duffy, Department of Transportation secretary, will probably be doing interviews today. So hopefully we'll hear more. But that was kind of shocking. So not sure what happened. Not sure how cartel members with their drones could breach airspace. We need to protect our airports. Once we find out more, we will. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. So the man that was detained for questioning in the Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mom's abduction, has been released. We do not have his full name, but I believe, I apologize. My computer is really, really bad. I apologize, but I'm sorry, I don't have his full name. They haven't released his full name, but he did discuss with the public that, he has been released. He was questioned and he was released hours ago. I think his name was Carlos. Yep, Carlos. So he told reporters on Wednesday that the police detained him for several hours, released him. Not sure what was asked. Miss Guthrie, the 84-year-old woman, is now on her 11th day of abduction. We don't know where she is. Yesterday, the doorbell footage was released where you saw a man who looks roughly, 5'11", 6 feet, roughly maybe 225 to 240 pounds, appears to have a mustache, hard to tell, possibly Caucasian based on the holes in his mask, with a unique sort of wear and backpack. I mean, this guy was dressed planning to do something. And we only yesterday got to see footage of this, which really would have helped 10 days ago, especially if somebody could recognize. There's a lot of things you could recognize, by the way. There, the some of the eyebrow. I know these masks. See now, everybody is still wearing masks. I can't believe how many people are still wearing masks for COVID. Right? I'm sorry. You walk around with a mask like this, okay? We're gonna think something's up. This particular person tried to cover his eyebrows after the Luigi Mangione thing, but you could see some shifting, and you could see some of his eyebrows. You could see his lighter skin. It's black and white, so you can't tell the eye color, but I believe you can tell if it is brown eyes versus blue, depending on some of the pigment. A lot of us with blue eyes, you'll see brown pigment up close. It's blue because we have less brown pigment. There's also green eyes and other beautiful eye colors. And then we could add contacts to alter our eye colors. But there's a way, if they could close up, be able to tell his eye color based on this. You could also tell his neck shape, his shoulder shapes, the way he walks. There's a very easy way to tell his shoe size. So you're looking at his feet, and you're looking at it on the mat. And based on the squares and where his foot falls between the squares around it, you could very easily measure his foot. I know he's kind of bundled up in his clothing, and his hands are covered also, as he tried to cover up maybe any identifying features, which then makes you wonder, does he have an identifying feature on his hands? The fact that he covered up, does he have a mole? Does he have certain hair distribution? Or was he just trying to be extra, extra careful? I'm not entirely sure why there was flowers in there, but he did holster a handgun and gloves, backpack. So it's a 44-second video. And this, I'm not sure if they had it the whole time or they just got it now. Obviously, as a physician, you have an 84-year-old woman abducted, even with no medical conditions. The shock, could be enough to put her into cardiac arrest. On top of that, we know she has a pacemaker. We know she needs medications on a daily basis. This doesn't look good. The average abductor is not a board-certified family medicine physician or internist, is not a nurse practitioner, PA, RN, LPN. The average abductor probably is not attending to her medical needs. And this is very, very frightening. And so, we're looking at this. You have all hands on deck. You have, so many resources. And what's so terrifying is not only is this woman, possibly in grave danger, if at all still alive, but you think of all the other individuals that have been abducted that still have not been found. And, who don't get to enjoy all these resources. I mean, I'm really, really glad that we're trying to help find her. I want us to help find her, but not everybody is the daughter of a Today host or the mother of a Today host or a relative of that. And so you just kind of wonder what is now happening with all the other, and the longer this takes, the longer resources are pulled from other cases. And this is very, very frustrating. The sheriff, Sheriff Chris Nanos, I don't know much about him, but after the first two interviews and press briefings, I was like, he might want to rethink coming on camera until he's not managing this well. And I think we all kind of saw that. And again, we don't know the behind the scenes. I'm sure police and I'm sure his team is working their butts off. But he's kind of doing one PR misstep after another where it looks like they missed cameras. They had to somebody didn't think about looking on the roof. And a bystander is like, the roof looks really, really white. Usually our roofs are not that white. They're pretty dirty, because of the dust. And, being that the roof is extra white, did she just have roofing? Do we need to look at other suspects? And so that obviously was kind of a misstep because you would think, again, this would be something that would come to mind. Any, individuals that came to work on the house, the pings of the cell phones, whoever had their cell phone on him, this guy, whoever had his cell phone on during the time he was by the camera, You would think they would be able to pick up on that. There had to have been a cell phone ping, unless he was, savvy enough to shut off his phone. But that could be, I'm sure, some evidence. And then the sheriff enjoying a U of A game. I get that. We all enjoy U of A basketball, but not a good look. So I hope they could find her, because this is not looking good. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So when you drop your kid off at school, you think that teacher is all about your child. Now, the teacher has every right to take care of themselves and to think of themselves, but you think of the average teacher as the most unselfish person on the planet, because they're taking care of your baby when you're gone, and they're teaching them, nurturing them, making sure they eat, taking care of their boo-boos, and then you get to pick them up later in the afternoon. Same thing with your doctor and nurse. You want to think that they're there for you, for the patient. Well, when this email happened, parents are like, okay, whoa, what's going on here? So one of the big headlines today is the teachers who are striking in San Francisco, all right, asked parents to not homeschool their kids or do independent study. They say if many families participate, while they're on strike and not teaching the kids, they say if many families participate in independent study, it reduces pressure on the district and can prolong the strike. If you are able, we ask that you, and then in bold letters, do not participate in the independent study provided by the district. So the school district is trying to keep these kids learning, while the San Francisco teachers, I think there's 50,000 of them, walked off the job. And I understand why teachers are underpaid. They have every right to want to have good pay, right? I mean, teachers are underpaid, but and better working conditions. But, if you're going to be one of these teachers striking, can you at least pretend that this is for the students? But when you say, no, we don't want them to learn. We need them to suffer and start to, academically, disintegrate so that we can get what we want. No, that's not cool. This is what was such a bad optic for the Democrats during the shutdown. I know SNAP benefits are hurting. We know FAA workers are hurting and our military is hurting. But guys, we got to stay strong for the cause. What cause? You guys approved the funding package before. What are you doing this for? Is it for your election? Or, aren't you here for us, the registered voters? So 50,000, oh, I'm sorry, it's not 50,000 teachers. 50,000 children are now not in school. I don't think they were in school Monday or Tuesday. I don't think they're in school today because the teachers walked off the job. They want a 9% raise over 2 years, subsidized family health care. Now, the San Francisco School District says they can't afford it. They're cash strapped. So the strike is going on. And what the district did is they sent homework packets that included 5 days of independent study work and practice in both English, language arts, and in math, according to the website. Now, they can lose millions of funding each day the strike goes on. But it's their job to make sure that the kids are still learning. Teachers claim that this was a ploy to ensure that the district continues to receive funds during the strike, meaning the district would then be able to avoid caving into the union's demands if the students were doing independent study. Okay, that should not be the way the system is. If it is, that's sick. But according to this email that parents are sharing, they say while parents were informed by the district that work packets and laptops would be distributed, school sites and teachers did not receive this information in a timely manner. It is also our understanding that this is an attempt by the district to mark students present without reopening schools. Many school districts get their money based on how many students show up. So they need students to show up. Like I think Clark County School District in Nevada lost a bunch of students during COVID and during the COVID vaccine mandate, and a lot of parents decide to homeschool, and that caused then less funding to go to the school district. So these are things that school districts are very sensitive about. They need kids in class. But the fact that these teachers are telling parents to not teach their kids, that's a problem. Tech worker Nadeem Hossein has a child in elementary school, said the email was messed up. According to New York Post, said strike if you must, but it's diabolical to say don't do independent study while we shut down the school for a few days. So there's now a lot of, back and forth on this. And I guess the school district is facing a $100 million deficit, an ongoing budget crisis. Well, California doesn't manage their money well. Now, what salaries are we looking at? So we're being told by New York Post that salaries for a K through 12 teacher are about $80,000 a year. The average teacher makes $100,000. The national average is $72,000. But I get it. San Francisco is expensive to live, and these teachers can't do remote. So they have to live in an expensive area to teach at the expensive school. I get that. But some of these teachers are making six figures and getting, summers off. I will always support our teachers because I think they're overworked and underpaid. But the big, I guess, thorn in my side is how students aren't learning in the summer. I don't mind teachers getting paid summer vacation. I don't mind that. But what I mind is these students are losing 3 months of academic instruction a year, which is 4 years or 3 years off? Yeah, in 12 years. So that's 3 years off, 3 years of no academic learning as a child. These kids are losing 3 years of learning because of summer vacation. Now, if during summer vacation they're learning how to farm and hunt and camp and work, and I mean, if they're doing summer school, I mean, but to lose out on a child's academic prowess and their ability to learn, because, we just do summer vacation. I don't really like summer vacation. I would rather winter vacation be longer. I think it's ridiculous. Winter break is only 2 weeks and people are coming back sick, coughing, sneezing, flu. These kids are coming back and they're missing most of January, February. Why don't we make winter break longer? But instead, these kids are missing school in the winter because they're sick or because of flight delays after Christmas or whatever. And then the summer, they have 3 months off. And so when people give teachers a hard time, it's like, well, you guys get summers off. I would really reevaluate. And you could, every teacher could still have 3 months off, but let's get these kids taught during the summer. Even if it's practical learning and life skill stuff, but these kids should be learning, not playing video games and watching TV. So the union organizers claim San Francisco teachers need better pay and benefits to survive the expensive city. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment is about $3,000 a month. The median home costs $1.3 million. They're not wrong about that. So the union president, Cassandra Curiel, said they're going to continue to stand together until we win the schools our students deserve and the contracts our members deserve at every single school site. So they're always going to bring up, everybody's always going to bring up, just like with, nursing strikes. And I believe the New York nursing strike did finally get resolved. And again, nurses are overworked and underpaid. That's nothing new, but everybody will always say it's for the patients or it's for the students. Okay, well then don't make them suffer. I mean, if you're really doing this for the students, you want the kids to learn. But because it's not helping their situation, because it's like, well, then there's going to be no pressure on the schools because they're doing independent study. Come on, that's not cool. And parents are getting ticked. The district has spiraling pension costs, money mismanagement, enrollment losses, and they say they're too broke to raise salaries by much. I tell you, where we're going to go is just like Ready Player One, if you've ever read the book, where in the future they can't afford teachers. So schools are run virtually, and your avatar has to clock in, and it's a teacher who's remote teaching thousands of kids at once. This is where we're going to be moving to. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So it's very interesting. As a physician, I'm getting a lot of pressure from these surveys of physicians, these medical groups, and wanting me to speak out against RFK Jr. And there's a lot of doctors that are kind of looking at what the HHS is doing as kind of necessary for patients. I mean, I'm not a fan of raw milk because I think it could hurt, individuals. I want milk pasteurized, but I do understand that people need to look at how can we make sure milk is healthy? Does a pasteurization process denature some of the proteins? And is there something we could do so that we're protecting people against pathogens, but still having raw milk benefits. I am on the side of, can we research things a little more and allow parents to have access to data to make decisions as it pertains to vaccines? I'm of the side of, let's let, just have some more transparency as it pertains to what's going on. So the vaccine protocol that we have in America is more robust than any other country, and we give a lot of vaccines. I support, that we have vaccines and that we're protecting our kids. But when the COVID vaccine was mandated, and I'm like, okay, this is going a little too far. Let's let patients decide. The mRNA technology, even though it's been around for a while, it's a newer vaccine. People are a little nervous about this. And I even said, back in at the end of 2020 and 2021, I go, they better not mandate it, because you're going to have a lot of parents saying, you know what, now I don't trust anybody. And now I'm going to rethink the tetanus and the hepatitis shot. And then that could be a disaster, because we don't want polio coming back. But if you sit here and you draconianly and fascistly say, this is your shot. This is what you need to do. Just do as we say, not as we do. Take, do the medicine. Don't ask questions. Now people start to struggle because they want to be able to ask questions. Let me just, can I think about it? That pregnant waitress I think she was in Brooklyn. They said, you know what? I'm in my 3rd month of pregnancy. I was able to get through this pregnancy without any complications. I know you're worried about COVID, but can I just wait on getting the vaccine? Her employer fires her. You needed to get the vaccine. So what happened with that is what caused a lot of lack of trust. They're trying to blame RFK Jr. now for the lack of trust, but that is what caused a lack of trust. Also, you had Bernie Sanders for decades. Anti-pharmaceutical company, the pharmaceutical companies are bad. Pharmaceutical companies are this, and all of a sudden, get your shot. Yay, Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, yay. Now, I like Pfizer, I like Moderna, I'm grateful they came up with that. But I thought Bernie Sanders was saying we have too many pharmaceuticals coming at us. What's going on here? So that's where I think the lack of trust is coming from. But now the messaging that everybody wants to, make on the left is the HHS is causing our lack of trust in vaccines. No, parents were already ripping their kids out of school and homeschooling kids before that, because the parents didn't feel that, that their doctor was non-political, and that you had, some saying it had to be, do what Biden says, and others are like, well, no, let's think about this. Let's, if you're worried, we don't know enough. And I think saying we don't know enough is okay. But unfortunately, for those of us who said, look, can we just, look at this a little bit more? We were the ones that were saying that we were spreading misinformation. Well, in medicine, we're taught to not honor informed consent. In medicine, we're taught to always evaluate for risks and benefits. And now you're saying we're spreading misinformation by saying I'd like to learn more? Really? So, even doctors are like, okay, what the hell is going on here? A lot of doctors left the AMA, the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAFP, because they were like, wait a second, guys, no, we're not getting political. Okay, we're going to do what needs to be, when you have somebody who has a workers' comp injury, the first thing we do is get them back to work, even modified duty, because the longer they're out of work, the worse it is for them to recover and for their health. Yet all of a sudden we recommend, work requirements or volunteer or school requirements for able-bodied, single, healthy adults on benefits. And it's like, what? Come on, be consistent here, people. So now people are like, well, what about autism? Autism and vaccines. I don't believe that a vaccine causes autism. The studies are showing that vaccines don't cause autism. However, are some individuals, very rarely, getting a neurological side effect, like a mild encephalitis or something, that is then causing them to look autism-like? Well, that's been in the data. That it's rare, very rare. And that's where I think people are confused. They think vaccines cause autism, but they're not causing autism per se, because autism, I have family members distant family members who multiple children have autism. I think it's genetic, and very genetic. But do some vaccines have side effects? That's why we have the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Some vaccines could have side effects, and parents want to know. And so one thing RFK Jr. Campaigned on is that he was going to ensure that there was going to be careful oversight, make sure that we weren't giving in to lobbyists, and make sure we were looking at the data and then allowing the parents to have access to that data. So I'd like to still see that website up where parents could access the data. I know there's a lot, but my fear is after that with the next administration, they're going to really come down hard, and you're going to have parents saying, look, I just don't know what I trust anymore. And I was always of the thinking, the vaccines that have been tried and true, for the most part, they're safe. There may be some people with side effects, but you keep adding more and more and more without getting the parents involved and helping them look at the studies and educate them. You're going to have people that'll say, to heck with all of it. Now, making headlines, we're being told that the FDA decided not to consider Moderna's application for a new flu vaccine using mRNA technology. Moderna said it received what's known as a refusal to file letter from the FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, citing a lack of adequate and well-controlled study with a comparator arm that does not reflect the best available standard of care. Now, this is the FDA's job, to ensure that a study is not biased, that a study is not, because unfortunately there's ways that people can unethically, I'm not saying Moderna's doing that. I like Moderna. I think they do a good job, but there are some ways where if you have outliers, like, well, you know what, we're going to change the sample size. So like, let's say, for example, you have a sample size of 100 and 25 people didn't do well. All right. And so now you have a 75% or didn't work. So a 75% efficacy. Well, what if you change that sample size to 75? Now you have 100% efficacy. So, I mean, and that's in the simplest terms, but there's lots of little ways that unfortunately we have to make sure does not happen in these studies. And so the Stephanie Bancel, Chief Executive Officer of Moderna, said the FDA's decision did not identify any safety or efficacy concerns with our product, does not further our shared goal of enhancing America's leadership in developing innovative medicines. They said it should not be controversial to conduct a comprehensive review of a flu vaccine submission that uses an FDA-approved vaccine as a comparator in a study that was discussed and agreed on with CBER prior to starting. So they want to, move forward if they can. Usually if the FDA rejects you, I don't think you get a lot of, reasoning to that. But we do know that the FDA is going to increase their scrutiny over vaccine approvals. And I know there's been, some distrust of mRNA vaccines. We did see side effects, with the COVID vaccine, the myocarditis, things like that. So I do think we need to embrace the technology, but I also think we don't want to fast track anything. We want to study it and know exactly what we're recommending to the public. 1-877-Doc-Dolly.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.